All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today, we're tackling a career that's way more than just picking out pretty colors and textures. We're talking about becoming a floor and wall coverings shop manager.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going through the stuff you sent over, and I kind of started picturing myself in that role. Not just like, browsing for my own home, but actually running the show.
Okay, yeah.
Like helping people find that perfect flooring for their dream kitchen, managing a team, staying ahead of all those design trends. Kind of gets your heart racing a bit, right?
Absolutely. And it's a career that's booming right now. All this focus on home renovation, interior design, it's creating such a demand for people who not only have that eye for design, but also really understand the industry inside and out.
So there's definitely more to it than just like having good taste, right?
Right.
Sounds like you need some serious business savvy too.
Oh, absolutely.
So where do we even begin to unpack a role like this?
Well, the RoleCatcher guide actually breaks it down really well, the day-to-day. You've got, of course, the customer-facing stuff, you know, advising on designs, talking about materials.
Right, because it's one thing to fall in love with a sample at the store, but then you've
Yeah.
got to think about,
Yeah.
will this tile actually survive kids and dogs running around? Is this hardwood going to warp in a humid climate?
Exactly. And that's where the shop manager's expertise is so crucial. They're not just there to close the sale, they're really educating the customer.
I see.
And then beyond that, beyond the sales floor, you've got inventory, staff, building those relationships with suppliers.
Oh, speaking of suppliers,
Hmm.
I kept seeing all this stuff about sustainable materials. Is that a big deal in this industry these days?
Oh, huge. Customers are so much more aware now of eco-friendly options, reclaimed wood, things like that.
I can see that.
Like, say a customer comes in, they're dead set on bamboo flooring because they heard it's sustainable. A good shop manager will know that, well, bamboo's great, but it can scratch easily.
Hmm.
They might steer that customer towards something newer, like cork, which is also super sustainable, but way more durable.
Ah, so it's about having that insider knowledge too.
Absolutely.
It's way more than meets the eye, this job. And speaking of things changing, the RoleCatcher guide mentions something about technology transforming this whole field. Like they mentioned VR and AR, virtual and augmented reality, for helping customers actually visualize their choices.
It's amazing, actually.
Is it really being used?
Oh, yeah. Imagine, a customer, they're debating between two different hardwoods.
Hmm.
With AR, they can use their phone, their tablet, whatever, and actually superimpose images of those floors right onto their own living room.
Well, no more lugging around those heavy samples.
Exactly. And for the shop manager, it means they've got to stay ahead of the game.
Hmm.
Knowing how to use these tools to really enhance the customer experience, it's huge. It's not just about that design eye anymore. It's about being tech savvy.
So it's safe to say this isn't your grandma's flooring store anymore.
Not at all.
But for someone who's actually thinking about this as a career, what are we really looking at here? Because RoleCatcher mentioned pros and cons, right? On the one hand, you're helping people create these amazing spaces.
Yeah.
But on the other, you're probably working long hours, dealing with some demanding customers. What's the reality there?
You're spot on. You hit all the key points there.
Yeah.
Let's start with the good stuff. The earning potential, it's significant. You can definitely reach six figures with experience, especially in bigger cities.
Okay, so not just for the love of tile.
Yes.
And you mentioned job satisfaction too, right? Actually, seeing your work come to life.
It's huge. You're not stuck behind a desk, you're part of making these tangible changes to people's homes. That's got to be rewarding. Plus, you've got job stability. People aren't going to stop needing floors and walls anytime soon.
That's one thing you can count on, I guess. But
Yeah.
the flip side.
Yeah.
What are some of the tougher parts of this job?
Well, you said it yourself, the hours. Especially during busy seasons,
Yeah.
demanding clients, managing a team, it can definitely be stressful.
Right.
And then there's dealing with difficult customers. Someone unhappy with their installation, the drill. You got to handle those situations gracefully, professionally, always.
So thick skin's a plus.
It definitely doesn't hurt. But also, having those problem-solving skills, when things go wrong, everyone looks to you, so you got to think on your feet.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, so we've talked day-to-day, the good, the maybe not so good. But for someone listening right now thinking, all right, I'm in, how do I actually become a floor and wall coverings shop manager? What does that path look like?
That's where those career stages from RoleCatcher come in. You don't usually start at the top. It's much more common to begin as a sales associate. It's the perfect way to learn the ropes. You know the different products, customer service skills.
Yeah.
You really get a feel for the industry that way.
It's like that saying, before you can design the perfect kitchen, you got to learn how to, like, grout the backsplash or something.
Exactly. And then as you gain that experience, you might become an assistant manager, taking on more responsibility, maybe even supervising a small team.
I see.
And every step of the way, you're building those core skills. RoleCatcher talked about the communication, the critical thinking.
Problem solving.
It's like leveling up, but instead of points, you're gaining expertise.
I like that. But it's not like you ever stop learning,
Well,
right?
yeah.
RoleCatcher really stressed that continuous development thing, like going to conferences, workshops.
Oh, absolutely. Because this industry, it never sits still. New materials pop up, new technologies.
Right.
That's why networking is so important. Trade shows, connecting with suppliers and designers on LinkedIn, even just reading those industry magazines, it's all about staying current.
Keeping your finger on the pulse.
Exactly.
And that can open doors, right? Lead to new opportunities.
100%.
Okay, so to recap, if you're out there and you're thinking, okay, I like fast-paced, I like working with people, love design, and, you don't mind a little hard work.
And you're tech savvy, ready to keep learning new things.
This could be it. This could be your path. Of course, we've only scratched the surface here, but those resources you shared and that RoleCatcher guide, they're a goldmine.
Yeah, really in-depth stuff.
Oh, and don't forget, building that portfolio, being able to actually show, like, photos of incredible installations you've managed, design projects you've been a part of.
It's like your design resume comes to life.
Exactly. Way more impactful than just words on a page.
For sure.
Okay, so say someone's listening, totally on board with this whole shop manager thing, but maybe feeling a little, I don't know, overwhelmed. Where do you even start looking for these kinds of roles?
Well, RoleCatcher had some interesting alternative job titles, things like, showroom manager, design consultant, even sales manager for companies that focus on this kind of stuff.
So it's more than just typing shop manager into a job site.
Right. Those titles might be a little different, but the work itself, pretty similar to what we've talked about. So, yeah, think outside the box a bit when you're searching.
Good advice. Okay, before we wrap up our deep dive here, got to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, technology. Because it really seems like the design world is changing so fast with AR, VR. How do you see that impacting this role, like down the line?
Yeah.
The shop manager of the future.
It's a really good question. And honestly, it's something anyone going into this field needs to be thinking about because as tech keeps evolving, those who roll with it, they're going to be the ones who really thrive. Imagine a future where a customer can walk into a shop and using VR, actually step into a replica of their own home.
Whoa.
See different flooring and wall options in real time.
That's like sci-fi stuff.
Right?
But where does the shop manager fit in that scenario?
I actually think they become even more vital, just in a different way. Some tasks might be automated, sure, but guiding the customer through that experience, that's where the shop manager shines. Understanding their needs, giving that expert advice. It's about helping them make those decisions, even in a virtual space.
So you're not just a product expert anymore. You're like a tech-savvy design consultant.
Exactly. Bridging that gap between the virtual and the real.
Wow. And I think that's what makes this whole career path so interesting.
Definitely.
It's constantly pushing you, challenging you to learn and adapt.
Absolutely.
Well said. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap up our deep dive here. But remember, this is really just the beginning. We've covered a lot, what a floor and wall covering shop manager actually does day to day, the career path itself, the whole tech side of things.
And those resources, don't forget those. Along with that RoleCatcher guide, it's all there for anyone who wants to keep digging.
It's all about taking that next step. So if you're listening and you're feeling that spark, do your research, talk to people in the industry, maybe even visit some local shops, see it all firsthand.
And don't forget to follow your passion.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, happy designing, everyone.